He dozed off unclothed, but woke to find her straddling him. The campfire had burned down to embers, throwing long shadows across the clearing. Elias stretched out on his bedroll, muscles sore from the day's endless march. He had stripped down to nothing, caring little for modesty. After weeks alone on the trail, he had forgotten what modesty even meant. The air was cool, the scent of pine thick, and exhaustion pulled at him like an anchor. He dozed off with only the crackle of fire and the whisper of wind for company. But when he woke, it wasn't the chill that greeted him. It was weight. He blinked against the faint light of dawn, heart thudding as his senses sharpened. Something pressed firmly against his hips, pinning him to the ground. His vision cleared, and there she was, a woman. No, not entirely human. Her skin shimmered faintly like moonlight on water. Her hair spilled over her shoulders in silver strands, glowing faintly in the gloom. Her eyes, enormous and luminous, studied him with an intensity that made his breath catch. She sat astride him, her hands braced against his chest, her movements measured and deliberate, as though she was testing his very being. Elias froze. His mouth went dry. Who are you?" His voice cracked with disbelief. Her head tilted, curious, like a predator studying prey. "You are warm," she murmured, her accent strange, words clipped and alien. "I needed warmth." He tried to sit up, but her grip on his chest was deceptively strong. "You can't just straddle someone in their sleep." His protest sounded absurd even to his own ears. Her lips curved, not quite a smile. "You left yourself unguarded. I thought it was an offering." Elias swallowed hard. Offering. That word chilled him. "I didn't offer anything. I was just sleeping." She leaned closer, her hair brushing his face. Her skin radiated cold, as though her blood was made of ice, and he realized with a jolt why she had chosen him. She wasn't just curious, she was freezing. "You're trembling," he said softly, instinct overriding fear. "You're cold." Her luminous eyes flickered, something like shame crossing them. "My kind, we cannot endure this world's nights. Without heat we weaken. You burn hotter than others." Elias's pulse quickened. She wasn't attacking, she was surviving. And yet, the intimacy of her position rattled him to his core. He forced himself to breathe slowly. "If you needed warmth, you could have asked." The alien woman tilted her head again. "Asked. And if you said no, then I'd still help," Elias said firmly, though he wasn't entirely sure if it was true. Something about her eyes, her strange fragility hidden beneath strength, made him want to mean it. For the first time, she shifted her weight, easing back slightly, though she did not leave his hips. "You are not afraid." "I'd be lying if I said that," Elias admitted. "But I'm not afraid of you hurting me. I'm afraid I don't understand what you want." Her expression softened, and she lowered herself slowly, resting against him like a weary traveler collapsing after a long road. "Just this. Warmth. For one more night." Elias hesitated, then let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He reached for the spare blanket beside him, awkwardly draping it over them both. Her body stiffened at first, but when the fabric settled, she let out a sound halfway between a sigh and a purr. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the morning birds. Finally he spoke again. "Do you have a name?" She shifted, her voice a whisper against his neck. "Lira." "Lira," Elias repeated, as though anchoring her to this world with the sound. "I'm Elias." Her hand moved to his chest, over his heart, as though memorizing its beat. "Elias," she echoed, slower, savoring the syllables. They lay there in an uneasy truce, two strangers bound by circumstance. Elias's mind whirled with questions. Where had she come from? How many more like her existed? Would she vanish with the dawn, or linger until the next cold night? But fatigue tugged at him again, heavier now that fear had loosened its grip. Against all reason, he drifted back towards sleep, Lira's fragile weight curled against him. When he woke hours later, sunlight poured through the trees, and the bedroll beside him was empty. No trace of her remained, not a footprint, not a strand of silver hair. Only the faintest chill lingered, as though the night itself had left behind a memory. Elias sat up slowly, staring at the forest as though it might offer answers. He touched his chest where her hand had rested, feeling the phantom echo of her presence. She had come to him like a dream, cold and desperate, yet undeniably real. And though she was gone, he knew one truth with absolute certainty. She would return, because the nights would always be cold, and he was the warmth she had chosen. Elias drew the blanket tighter around his shoulders, eyes scanning the trees. "Next time," he whispered into the morning air, "you won't need to sneak up on me, Lira. Next time, you can just ask." The forest gave no reply, but somewhere within it, he felt certain she was listening. When Elias woke again, the forest was washed in golden morning light. Birds sang, the embers of his fire had gone cold, and the weight against his chest was gone. He sat up quickly, searching the clearing. No silver hair, no faint glow of moonlit skin, just empty earth and the whisper of leaves in the breeze. For a long moment, he wondered if it had all been a dream. But the blanket beside him still held a faint chill, as though it had cradled something not quite human through the night. His hand went instinctively to his chest, to the spot where her fingers had lingered over his heartbeat. He could almost feel it still, the cold press of her hand, the way she had whispered his name like a vow. Elias let out a slow breath, torn between relief and disappointment. She had come to him desperate for warmth, straddling him like a thief in the night. But in that closeness, he had glimpsed something more, a loneliness deeper than his own, a need she couldn't hide. "She'll be back," he murmured to himself, pulling the blanket tighter across his shoulders. The nights here were long, the air cruel and biting, and if what she said was true, she would have no choice but to return. Only next time, he thought, staring into the trees with a faint, almost daring smile. She wouldn't need to steal his warmth like a secret. "Next time, Lira. You can just ask." The forest gave no answer, but Elias felt it in his bones. She was still out there, listening. And whether he liked it or not, he wasn't alone anymore.